Hello, welcome back to the podcast here on the far side of the moon. And we are going to be recapping Raised by Wolves, going into episode 6 now, Lost Paradise. I am your host, Carlos, here with Albert,
Welcome back.
who will be recapping today's episode, and Lety.
Hi.
And from here, I just want to say that this is an HBO Max original. Not sponsors, but would like to be. You can find it online. They do have free trials. I'm sure you can figure that out. Okay.
Right, well, episode starts basically in the sim. Mother's actually looking inside the past. Mother's actually looking inside the ship that she's about to go to Kepler 22b. She's walking back, saying like it doesn't feel right. Getting that feeling inside of her stomach where everything feels wrong.
Again, this is the same scene we saw before.
That's right. That's right.
Beat for beat.
But now we start to realize that it's kind of different, mainly because we are very aware that now Mother is looking at herself, her past self, and she's actually pausing, and basically she's been reviewing this scene over and over. Now, Campion, which is her creator, is telling her like, Mother, you're our last hope. You're our only hope now. Like, save us. Mother basically is looking at her past self, tells her to pause. This is the moment where Campion is actually getting close to her face, like about to kiss her.
Mm-hmm.
Pause. Unpause. Mother actually goes through her past self because, again, we're in the sim, so she's able to do that, as we discovered the first time she ventured in there. And she actually puts herself in the same spot where Campion would be kissing. So, completely breaking programming. I feel like this person's actually, well, Mother is starting to take more of a love. Like, she's
that's
experiencing.
definitely love.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't even
definitely
think
love.
that's questionable,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
she's reliving this moment and experiencing this kiss that she did not get to experience
Or
the first
doesn't
time.
remember experiencing.
Yeah, yeah.
Even then, like, she didn't even react to it because, I mean, she was
No.
just
Yeah,
an android.
for-
But now she's showing emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now she has her memories back, so I think she just wants to experience it over and over again. Since she didn't, like, the love was short lived, like, she didn't get to have a relationship with Campion. It was kind of like a kiss, okay, bye, go back. Or get in the ship, go to Kepler 22b.
I kind of want to point out here that this is kind of unhealthy behavior, I think.
No, yeah,
Where
for sure.
she's basically living in the past right now, right? Well,
Mhm.
we know that she's supposed to be taking care of these kids and looking after father, and
Yeah.
I mean, basically, what her mission, what she's supposed to be able, what was given to her by Campion to do, but she's completely ignoring that right now just
Yeah.
to
And she
experience
just
the love that she has for Campion.
relive a love that doesn't really exist anymore because Campion stayed in Earth. Obviously,
can't get over your first, apparently.
no,
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the word that I'm looking for is like ruminating, where she's
Rum-
stuck in these thoughts and she just keeps on replaying them. And I mean, she has the ability to
Control it.
actually replay the memories.
And then also, like, think about it. I guess she just unarchived these memories. So she's experiencing it now. That's why she can't get over it. Because yes, it's been a long time, but to her, it's now. So
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so after that, after she does the kiss, she wakes up and she gets out of the pod, and the scene actually jumps over to Caleb and Sue, or Mary and Marcus, and they're actually looking at the camp. Apparently it's been, I don't know how many days, but it's already been a while, and they've been scouting out the camp, and they're looking at the kids running back and forth, and Marcus actually says, oh, like, he looks very happy, like Paul looks very happy being there with the kids, and I mean, it makes sense.
Just because we saw him not be able to experience this in the simulation
Yeah.
because the other kids were assholes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they're finally seeing this other side of Paul that I'm assuming they haven't seen, which
Well,
was
not with other kids, because I
Exactly.
mean, I'm sure they've seen him play with them, but not with friends.
Yeah, we didn't get to see that at least.
yeah, and the scene continues. They're just going back and forth, and Mary/Sue is over here talking to Marcus. Is like, what are we gonna do when we get him back? Like, are we gonna tell him what's happening? And basically, what they did, which basically was kill original parents and make Paul aware that, you know what, we're not your parents. So there's a conversation going on about that. They're going back and forth, and they start talking about. Marcus says, you know what, like we'll tell him when we're in the actual tropical zone. And it's like, yeah, good. No, you're basically trapping him, and you're not giving him a choice anymore. Like you're stuck here with us, and we're your new parents. And that's, again, they're still looking at the kids, and they're going back and forth. And now they're talking about what they could do. They're talking about trying to get him back. Well, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do it? Then they mention that if they just go and get him now, there's no way they're gonna be able to run away from the necromancer. There's gonna be no. They need to get rid of her first.
Yeah,
it's basically implied
like
that
if
this
they
needs
run
to
away
happen.
with Paul, she'll go after them because she wants Paul.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Now, in this same scene, they feel the ground shaking, and they actually see Mother appear from the mist of the clouds. They see her come out, and
Well,
this
she's coming from the other side of this mountain that's
yeah.
yes.
overlooking the little settlement that they have.
And this is how you know for a fact that it's been maybe a couple days when they've been scouting, because Marcus says every day she's been using the same flight pattern.
going over that damn mountain.
Exactly. Every day she's been going over that same flight pattern. I want to see where she's at. I want to see what she's doing.
I'm just gonna talk about it a little bit. I don't, in my opinion, I don't think. I mean, I see their point why, because they want to run away with Paul, just them two and Paul. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's necessary, kind of, to mention to Paul that.
At this point, I think it's pointless
Well,
to actually tell him.
I think I'm of the same opinion, but I'm gonna still play devil's advocate here
Okay.
and say, okay, well, they want to tell him because they do love him, and you don't want to lie to someone you love.
Okay, yeah, that's true, but.
I mean, embrace the people who you are now.
Yeah.
I see it that way. It's like, you know what, you already did it. You're already here. You're living their lives.
And you got surgery to look like these people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because it's also probably easier for Marcus to live as these people rather than.
Yeah, I kind of feel it more. I feel like more from Mary, like Mary/Sue wants to push it, like let's tell him, because like how you said before, she's completely atheist. She doesn't want to embrace the Mithraic religion when Marcus is kind of already in between both, and he's
definitely already got feet in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like Marcus wants to stay as Marcus. So
he wants Caleb to disappear.
Yeah.
No. Mother comes down to Father, and he just starts walking the camp. Anything into patrol today? He's like, no. And he starts, he kind of points out that her patrols are starting to be a little bit longer, and how she's needed at the camp, but doesn't say why she's needed. It just basically, she's like, why? Like, why do you need me? The creatures are, like, they're not really active during the day. And Father's like, well, I mean, there's other things. Like, you could remain here with the children. I fear you're not spending enough time with them, or not. You're not properly imprinting, is what Father says. You're not properly imprinting. Mother turns around, looks at him, and is like, if you could Father, you'd be doing this patrols on yourself. If you do it by foot, it will take a full day. So basically, Mother again, kind of talking down to Father and letting him know, like, I'm better and I could do it a lot faster and waste less time. But that's not the point. Father kind of replies back to her and lets him know, like, no, like, you need to be spending time with the kids. Now at this point, Mother walks towards the shed, and he turns around, like, wait, like, I have a joke for you. I have a joke. And he's like, when is a door not a door? Mother doesn't say anything. And then Father says, when it's ajar. And I guess this is the first time that Mom actually replies to that, or Mother, sorry, replies to that kind of a lot meaner, if anything. And she's like, a door is always a door. And I was like, whoa, like, she's kind of like just agitated, I guess, or just
she's bothered
by it. Walks into the shed, and the whole time Hunter was there peeking in, looking at the conversation, just trying to get a read off what's going on. He obviously knows that they were arguing, going back and forth.
And Mother makes a point to tell him that
next time just join us.
Yeah, because she knew he was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's kind of put him on the spot right then and there. It's like, you know what, next time just join us. If you're just going to be if the conversation's pulling you here, why don't you just go ahead and join? So Mother just walks away, leaves him there. She's like, sorry.
Yeah, he stutters a bit.
Yeah, because, I mean, what are you going to do? They caught you red-handed, right? So now this next scene coming up, it actually cuts off with Vita and Tempest. And Tempest actually is talking to Vita and Vita mentions Tally. That Tally's the one that showed her how to create those dolls. And it's like, wait, you shouldn't be bringing her up like she's dead. I don't know if that was more like it was like stop joking around kind of deal, like this is serious, or if that was her just being scared. Just like what? Like no, there's no Tally. Like it's not real.
Could be both.
Could be
I
both.
think so too. I think it might be both because I guess they don't know the relationship or how they feel when Tally's brought up, but it could hurt feelings, especially Campion, since that was his sibling.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like she's gone. She's not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be seeing her. Like, why are you still talking about Tally? You didn't even know her.
Yeah.
So it's kind of. I feel like it's a little bit of both.
But that's why I think she'd be scared, right? Because
Yeah.
it makes no sense to joke about someone like that. So, or even lie about someone like that,
Mhm.
right? So it's just, why is she saying this?
Yeah,
It's
what is
scary.
she? What is she seeing, or what
Yeah,
is
what is
she
she
experiencing?
What is she experiencing, or like what's going on? Like personally, I'd be like, okay, then something's out there that's tricking her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like, what that's scary in of itself. Just because if there's something out there that can trick them, then who's to say that they're not gonna be tricked by the adults or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Now, okay. So now this right there in that same scene, actually, Mother walks in, and Vita walks out. Mother actually talks to Tempest, and well, doesn't talk to her yet. Actually, Tempest is actually playing a little lullaby. I believe it was
It's
Twinkle
Twinkle,
Twinkles.
Twinkle.
At least she's starting to play it in this weird shaped guitar that they're trying to make. It's super small, and she's trying to do the jingle there. And Mother asks her, "Is like, how are you feeling with the baby today?" It's like, wait, like every day that you ask me, like the outcome is not gonna change. Like I'm still not gonna, basically, I'm still not gonna like this child because of the whole how it happened, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And Mother like asks her, is like, I need you to tell me what you promised me. Like remember the promise that you made to me, and I need you to say it out loud. I'm like, okay, like I promised not to try to kill myself or the baby. Obviously, this is what already happened when she tried to. I guess I don't want to say I don't want to say commit suicide, but I mean technically that's what it was.
I think that's exactly what she was trying to do.
She took
Right.
poisonous plants, like
Yeah. She ate the things that came from the soil, and we know that the soil is poisonous.
yeah, and she didn't have like maybe one. No, she had
just a little poison.
Yeah, not just a little. She finished the bowls that Mother had there.
Yeah, and when she puked it up, you could see that there was a lot of material.
Now in that same scene, Tempest starts talking to her about nightmares and how Mother doesn't really have nightmares, and how she was like, do you even have nightmares? Do you even dream? And Tempest tells Mother, is like, what? Because what I see is very real. And obviously she's talking about her nightmares or her rape, because she said every time I close my eyes, I see what happened to me, and I feel it. Like, obviously this girl is already traumatized of her situation, of what happened. This guy from the hierarchy, from her religion.
Yeah.
Did that and got away with it. Well, no, he was.
No, he didn't get away with it, but I think that the show did sort of imply that he was doing this for a while and was getting away with it. I don't know if that's going to become relevant or not.
Right.
I think the only reason why he was getting away with it, at that moment, obviously everyone woke up and he was sentenced. But I think in those moments that he was doing, like committing rape, he was getting away with it because everyone was in the sim. Like, I think didn't they mention that he woke up before everyone?
Yeah. Something woke him up.
They couldn't stop him.
Yeah. But
or soul woke him up.
That's why, like,
that is true. He does say it's soul, but
I want to point out that in the last episode he was saying like, oh, I wasn't against relieving myself with these inferior beings before.
Yeah.
So I think that really does imply that he was having sex like this before they left Earth.
Oh.
So that's why I'm saying that he was probably getting away with that stuff.
Yeah.
And then now that Soul told him to do it, he was doing it, and then he just got caught because he was doing it recklessly.
Yeah.
Or he was doing it with complete abandon of who he was, and just thinking about the rape.
Now, at this point, Tempest actually tells the mother, like, do you wish to have those? Like, not the nightmares, but the dreams themselves. Do you wish to have those? Like, not the nightmares, but the dreams themselves. He's like, And then Mother replies to her, I actually don't wish for anything. I am not one that wants. I am one that serves. And then she's doing that. She's taking off her shoes. She's getting her ready for bed. She's getting her ready for bed. And Tempest actually goes a little bit out of character at this point. I guess she feels more comfortable with Mother and tells her, like, Mother, would you stay with me? Just basically to give her comfort at night, right? Because obviously she's talking about having these nightmares, so this is still going through her head.
Yeah.
So she's trying to be more comfortable, so she asked her to stay, and Mother obviously, like, of course, I'll stay with you.
I want to point out that she says she's completely void of desire, right? Because she's a robot and she's just made to serve. But we already see earlier in this episode that that's not true. Because she is going to these simulations, repeating the memories.
Contradicting what she's saying.
Yeah,
for her own enjoyment.
Yeah.
Yeah, to relive these moments, right? Because she finds some sort of comfort in that.
Then again, that was also kind of implied in an earlier episode where she talks about on the trinkets. You know, it's like, oh, I often replay the memories of our kids as well.
It's true.
Like, why else would they do that? It's because they miss them in a way. I mean, they were their kids, their first gen, they were their babies.
So I don't know if she meant to lie to Tempest, but she's definitely lying to herself.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Scene cuts off. Obviously, it was the end of the night. Next day, all the kids are walking around the camp where all the tree areas are at, and they're actually putting firewood together. They're trying to get stuff for, obviously, a fire. And Paul's trying to pull out a branch of a small tree.
And not a branch, the whole tree.
Well, yeah, it's a whole tree, but I mean, we're talking about a super tiny tree.
Yeah, it's like about the size of the kids.
Yeah, exactly. And he's trying to pull that out of the ground, and Father tells him, you know what, like, that tree's not gonna burn. Like, it has too much life in it. Like, the ones that burn the best are the dead ones, obviously. And Campion's like, oh, sorry. Paul is letting him know. He's like, no, I'm actually gonna use this for something else. I'm like, okay. Stick people? Like, nope. I want it to be a surprise. Okay. He actually takes off the tree, and he actually works the Campion. Campion is currently burying the pieces of the animal that they had. And at this point, Paul actually lets him know. He's like, why are you doing that? Like, it's a soulless creature.
Yeah, you don't have to bury them.
You don't have to bury it. You don't have to bury it at all.
But Campion lets him know his beliefs.
Yeah, that he believes even a tree has a soul.
Yeah.
And mother and father.
Yeah, he thinks that everything could have a soul, right? So this is super radical to Paul. And he even points it out to him. He's like, you know what? That's sort of a childish thing to say, Campion. His words exactly are, it's a babyish thing to say.
Yeah, it is a babyish thing to say. I really like this scene because it goes a little bit more towards their friendship. And it points out, like, I don't mind disagreeing with you, Paul. We could disagree and still be friends. And Paul actually, like, you know what, yeah. Like, yeah, I don't mind either. You believe whatever you want, Campion. Basically, them respecting each other's
beliefs.
At that point,
that may be the first instance of an atheist and a Mithraic people being able to come to terms with their differences.
Yeah.
From all that we've seen nothing but war between them two, and now
they've come to terms with, like, hey, we believe different things. I just want to point out here that while they're disagreeing, it's supposed to be an atheist and Mithraic disagreement. Campion's belief is actually not atheist because he's talking about all these things having souls.
I think maybe it's a combination.
Well, he's basically
Like,
coming up with his own belief system.
Yeah,
he started to make up his own. I mean, well,
It's
his
not a
own
religion.
no,
It's just his own beliefs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, his own train of thought.
A religion would imply organization and stuff, so it's definitely not a religion. It's just a belief set.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they have that conversation, and actually Paul just walks away, and Campion's doing his own thing, right, burying the bones. At this point, Father had already walked away a little while ago, and he actually goes up to Hunter. Negative Nancy not doing anything. By the way, he's just sitting down holding a couple branches. And Father actually lets him know, he's like, you know what, it would be a lot more beneficial if gathering wood, if everyone actually gathered wood, right? Basically letting him know that he's just sitting there not doing shit. So, at this point, Hunter, he goes, not attacks him, but he tries to question Father. He's like, oh, like, when are you going to open your eyes? Because Mother's been lying to you, right? Like, obviously he's very aware of what's going on, the situation of both of them arguing, and then
It's the high IQ showing off.
here we go, that 205 IQ, that 205. And he basically mentions to father, is like, look, like, she's obviously lying. It's like, no, mother's not lying. And this is what he basically implied, that this is what couples do when people separate because of disagreement like this. Father just kind of gets like agitated about it. Like,
I don't even know if he can feel agitation, right? He's just sort of like, you know what? Forget that. And he's just like, here, carry this. And he gives him, father gives Hunter all the sticks that he was carrying, which is a lot of sticks.
Yeah.
So basically giving this boy manual labor that he should have been doing already.
I mean, he should have, but I mean, just stick up his ass. And he doesn't want to do anything because he's the son of a senior cleric.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, he actually turns to the side, and it's actually the same rocks where Sue/Mary and Marcus have been scouting them, and he spots a little can on the floor, and that's what we see in one of the first scenes.
It was
that
Mary.
they're eating.
Mary was eating this food out of this can.
Yeah, we don't know what the food is yet, but yes, she was eating the food out of the can, and that's actually what he sees on the ground. He picks it up, he looks at it, he recognizes it, and then he takes off and goes to
I think he even smells it, so he can tell like it's fresh.
Yeah.
You can tell it's fresh.
He like puts it in his bag and walks away.
That's right. Now, after that, he goes and walks back to the camp with everyone. Everyone was already going back. I guess they gathered enough wood, and it jumps scenes. It jumps scenes to Mother, Campion, and Paul sitting around the table, and there's a little puzzle that's made out of stick. Because I mean, what else are you gonna do? You're not gonna play with a phone, so obviously they have a little puzzle in front of them, and Campion is telling Paul, because obviously this is meant for Paul. Lets him know, it's like, oh, like, this is a very challenging puzzle. How long did it take me again, Mother? And Mother just turns around and looks at him and is like, it took you 23 minutes and 35 seconds to solve this one. Obviously, she's an android. Very specific. They obviously keep track of stuff like this.
But she points out that it's above the average time for a kid his age.
Now, at that point, you see a little smirk.
A little Campion, like a flattery, like, oh, I did this.
Well, it's like a sense of superiority that he's seeing with himself, right? And he's like, okay, well, I can have the chance to teach this to my new friend, right?
Yeah. By the way, the puzzle is like 4 cubes. It's like...
I'm sure you could look it up. It's probably just look up 4 square stick puzzle, 3 squares. Because it's a set of 4 squares set together by sticks, and the goal of the puzzle is to make the
4 squares into 3.
3 squares only by moving 3 of the sticks.
Yeah.
Now, the whole time that Mother's talking to Campion and letting him know his little time record, and Campion's all smug about how fast he did it according to him, because, I mean, who else is going to challenge him since he's the only one? But now at this point, Paul that whole time was looking at it, thinking. I'm pretty sure he was trying to think of moves in his head. And, like, nothing. He's like, he actually moves a piece, and they tell him that he could only move 2 more. And he's like, oh, you know what? I think I got it.
Oh, well, I want to point out here that while he was thinking, and after he moved the first stick, he's like, Campion says, do you want a hint?
Yeah. And Mother tells Campion to let him do it by himself.
Yeah, as he should. I mean, there's no point to the puzzle if it's going to be
solved for you.
Yeah, exactly. But you could see that the gears are already turning for Paul, and all he did, he moved the first stick, thought a little bit, it's like, no, I think I got it. Then he moved 2 more of the sticks, solved it, without making any mistakes.
And that was done a lot faster than 23 minutes, I want to add. At that point...
Are you sure? Should we time it?
Yeah.
At that point, Campion gets a little bit agitated, like, what? You cheated. Like, you knew this one, and he's like, no, I didn't, I promise. And that's when Mother actually lets him know, like, wait, it's not a competition, guys. It's not a competition. Campion looks at Paul, angry. He's like, oh, like, this guy made me look like a fool. And he actually, like, leaves.
He storms off.
He storms off.
I want to point out here that...
Low IQ.
Well, the thing is, Paul obviously has an education.
Yeah.
He was taught. Of course, Mother and Father are teaching the kids too here, but they can only do so much, and they aren't human, so they don't know exactly what they're supposed to do. They're just trying their best. Probably doing good enough, right? Because Campion is smart enough, it seems, but obviously this kid has had a formal education. probably the highest education the Mithraic race can give him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So even though he didn't know the puzzle, he already had the framework in his head to solve this.
I mean, we did see him making sculptures with his bare hands in the sim that were a little bit, they were super detailed, honestly. So
yeah, they already showed that he has spatial awareness.
Yeah. So obviously, a couple sticks is not gonna really mess with his mind.
Yeah, and Campion's acting like a little brat.
No
a little, yeah, no disagreement and just low IQ little brat thing. Now, scene jumps. It was the end of the day. Mother and father are outside. They're on their knees. I guess they're just making sure that everything's fine. And it actually goes to inside to who is this? Holly
Holly
and Hunter. And then Hunter's obviously has the little can in his hand, and he's just like thinking about what's gonna happen. I guess in his mind, they're gonna go rescue them.
I want to point out how smart Hunter is, with just holding this can in his hand, just like, oh, I really hope these people come back or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone could have run up to him, seeing the can, it just happened to be Holly.
Stinking up the whole little cabin of fish or whatever.
Or whatever food they're carrying. Just.
Yeah.
Now, obviously Holly comes up behind him and is like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he turns around, super obvious, because I mean, obviously the next people have no sleight of hand skills.
Mm-hmm.
And as he turns around, he puts it on the side, and she's like, "Oh, like what was that?" Nothing. Go back to bed. I'm like, "Oh, we're not in the arc anymore." Holly kind of sassy and kind of gets him back. It's like, "We're not in the arc anymore. I don't have to listen to you." Hunter just gets like a weird look in his face, like, "Damn, like she's kind of right." And at this point, Holly's like, "You know what? Well, I wonder what would Mother have to say with this. I'm pretty sure you'll show her."
And
He's
that,
like,
that gets Hunter
Yeah,
acting right.
That'd get his attention. Like, wait, Holly, hold on. Takes out the can. Holly looks at it, smells it. It's still fresh. So obviously they're figuring out that someone's actually there. They're keeping an eye out for them. Maybe rescue. That's basically what Hunter's implying here. That we're probably gonna get rescued. That he found it when they were out in the woods, getting the firewood. Sorry. Now he's talking to Holly and letting her know, it's like, look, we need to keep this between ourselves. We don't want any more tombstones with our names on them now, because obviously they have the first gen, all the kids that died, and that's what he's referring to.
Yeah.
I don't want to see any more basically with their names on them. Keep this to yourself.
I want to point out here that it's just a scare tactic from Hunter. Of course, it works. It gets Holly to keep quiet, right? But we really don't know how father and mother would have reacted to the idea that they are being watched, right?
Yeah, even then, I'm pretty sure they weren't going to take it out on the kids.
They wouldn't take it out on the kids. Yeah, they
definitely
would not kill Holly and Hunter. They definitely keep the H's around.
Okay, now the scene ends like that. Holly's kind of thinking about what Hunter said. Probably she's just going to keep it to herself. Now it jumps to the Mithraic soldiers and the clerics that are left, walking down this hill, obviously going towards
where they think Mother has been going to.
Right, because at this point they did talk about the flight pattern and they wanted to see where she was at. So they're looking for that place. They're in the woods, close to where the pods are at, and this is where...
Oh, it's the scene between Lucius and Marcus here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's like, I want to take this moment to show gratitude to you, to express my deepest gratitude for your decision, and forgive my father from his mortal sin.
Lucius to Marcus.
Lucius to Marcus, yes. Now, Marcus was like, do you know the whole story? Like, because obviously Marcus doesn't know this story. He's pretending to be someone else, and he's been pretending the whole time to know what he was talking about. And then Lucius' response to him is like, I mean, I know it's on the record. That's kind of it. Marcus thinking about it is, you know what? Why don't you explain to me what the record is? Like, maybe I could add something. Like, maybe there was something missing. Well, it turns out that his father had actually found a atheistic child, a little girl, and instead of executing her right there on the spot, they actually kept her as a hostage. But little did they know that this kid actually had a body bomb on them. She detonated it, and honestly, she probably did her job and killed most of the platoon like she was meant to. But I mean, the father wasn't going to know that. So at this point, Lucius apologizes to him. Is like, sorry for killing half your platoon, and you did him the honor of shooting him yourself and not let an android take my father out of the battlefield. And for that, I am eternally grateful to you, sir. At this point, Marcus is nodding. He's like, okay, because now he knows what he actually told Lucius that he forgave his father for, which is obviously like something very intense that happened in the war to him, and now he's forgiven. And he lets him know that I'm not gonna be a coward like my father.
Yeah, I won't make the same reckless mistakes.
That's right. I'll be vigilant and guard myself against my father's tendency towards weakness.
Right.
Marcus gets not, I don't want to say angry, but he kind of reacts to that kind of strong.
Well, I guess he's like taken aback because he's really like, oh well, no, that's really the thing that he would have wanted, right? Cause he knows that the kids they're in the atheistic army didn't really have a choice.
And at this point, I feel like that applies to him because he did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
With Otho.
Yeah.
Because he's like, no, like we need this guy. So he basically did the same thing his father did, without him knowing. Because Marcus didn't take in this other person that they're supposed to kill. I mean, he was supposed to die.
You're right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so Marcus tells Lucius, like, your father was not a weak man. So leaves Lucius there contemplating. He's like, you know what? Maybe he's right. Okay. Gives him a little bit. I want to say it gives Lucius a little bit more of a sense of closure towards the way he was thinking about his father this whole time. Is like
that was definitely unhealthy, right?
Yeah. So he's been contemplating about that the whole time. I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure his father died in the war. He thought he went a really cowardly way out, and he's like, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
Like I put him out. He did the right thing by taking care of that kid, but
sadly,
it wasn't the right call.
Yeah, no, it's tough during war. I mean, you make decisions in the moment, and in war, I mean, life or death. But you gotta just own your decisions.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, that's regardless of wartime, you just gotta own your decisions.
Now, at this point, Marcus walks away after telling him that and leaving Lucius contemplating. And they actually bump into the pods. They bumped into the pods, and Marcus actually looking at it. He's like, "Oh, she's been plugging herself in here. She's been plugging herself in." And he's like, "What? Like she's an android? Why would she do that?" And he's like, "I don't know, but she's going and doing it." And then he opens the pod. I guess where the little bed goes. He opens and there's actually like a screen there, a display, and it actually tells you all the logs that have been logging in. And he's like laughing at it. He's like, "Look, like it's the shortest time that she's been here has been 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours of her replaying
that kiss, that love that she's not getting over.
And that's the shortest one.
Yeah, that's the shortest one.
This is something now. I'm gonna go back to it now. This is something that an android that doesn't want anything, doesn't need anything. She's here to serve, but she keeps replaying her memories
of lost
love. Okay, so Marcus lays down, and he's talking to Mary/Sue, and he's letting her know. It's like, look, when she's laying here, when she's plugged in, she can't hear, she can't feel, she can't move. Basically, he's implying that this is where we get her. This is where we hurt Mother. With the shield that they had brought up earlier in another episode, that would basically absorb energy and then throw it back at them. So, finally, there's a way to get rid of this necromancer. Now, end of scene, jumps to Mother in the incubation room. Into the incubation room. Now, Mother's just looking at all the trinkets. She's looking at the walls of all the paintings that Tally had done and all the other kids. And she gets like a chill, which I think is kind of weird. There's like a chill in the air. There's something wrong in the room, and she kind of notices it. And she looks at one of the little squares of the room, and she actually sees her memory being drawn there. She sees the capsule. She sees her and my boy Campion giving it to her. Nah, I'm kidding. She sees Campion actually giving her a kiss, which is a very intimate moment for her.
It's a crude drawing. I want to make sure I point that out to the audience that may not be watching the series. It is just stick figure drawings that would be done by a kid. So it's the only reason she knows what this picture means is because it's her memory. She sees these little crude drawings in an embrace with the faces touching. And she knows it's her. Yeah,
and at this point, Mother starts showing. I want to say it's another emotion. I guess I want to call it embarrassment, maybe.
I think it's like a anxiety or something.
Really?
It's definitely some sort of uneasy feeling that she has having that on the wall.
It's a very intimate moment being displayed.
I think it's a combination of embarrassment and anxiety. Embarrassment because she doesn't want people to see, and anxiety because she can't get rid of it. Like she starts kind of like you trying to erase it, and she can't get rid of the drawing.
Yeah, she's scratching at the wall.
So I think it's a combination of both. Like this is a moment she's been replaying, and it's kind of just hers, and now it's here on the wall, drawn for anyone that walks in to see. So.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. I thought it was an interesting way she reacted to it. Now it jumps scenes and it skips to this. I want to say this makeshift. It looks like a mouth of a shark, basically. That's kind of what I'm trying to picture. It's an open.
The closest thing I would describe it to would be like a bear trap.
Yeah.
There you go. It's a bear
But
trap.
it is. But you're right.
One.
It's not the way that you'd imagine a bear trap. It's definitely more like a giant mouth with the little mechanism in between to like a bear trap where it would feel something press down on it and then chomp on it.
Now that's basically how the next scene starts. You see that and you hear Paul talking about, oh, like we could use this. You know what it is? It's him and Campion going back and forth in this conversation. And he's like, wait, what is it? Campion asks Paul. Paul's like, it's a way to ensure nobody gets hurt when we're hunting for animals. And he's like, I'm sorry, Campion. And he actually sets up the trap next to him. And he's like, but you know what? I cannot stomach that fungus anymore. Campion, I don't want to kill creatures, but I do want to eat them. Obviously, he's getting tired of this fungus food. And I mean, who likes veggies, right? Now, he sets up the trap.
At this point, other people have gathered here. So, the most important one would be Father that's watching them now.
Yeah, he's very intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, this is the first time that they actually do. This is the first time that they actually set a trap, even though they just started hunting.
And also, it's kind of the first time that you see Paul create something, at least for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's that is this is the surprise that he had in mind, because this is what he created with that tree that he was telling Father that he was taking out. So this is the surprise. This trap that he made is obviously he had the design in mind, and boom, he made it happen. Now he makes it work.
I want to point out that takes a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Especially like it seemed like he made this overnight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely did. But I mean, even for that, doing it overnight, it looks pretty well done. And he tested it out in front of Father, in front of Hunter, in front of everyone. And they're actually pretty impressed. It's like, no way you did this.
Can I describe how the trap worked?
Go ahead.
Because the way he sets it up, he puts it up against the wall, right? And of course, it looks like these giant teeth with the lever in the center. And he has a femur bone. I'm assuming it's of the creature that they killed.
Yeah.
So it's a big bone that he has there. He's like, okay, I'm going to test it out. He pushes the bone into the lever. The device chomps down at it and completely shatters the bone.
Yeah, cuts it right in half.
So it is made to deal a lot of damage to this thing. I want to point that out right now.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he did this for their safety. So they don't have to endanger the Sumses trying to get food. No. I made this so I could leave it out there and we'll eventually catch something ourselves. Obviously, bear trap. Now,
he's being congratulated for it.
That's right. Everyone around him is praising him. Is like, there's no way you did this by yourself. Hunter actually tells him that. And he says, actually, I didn't do this by myself. If Campion hadn't found the bait. Then he actually takes out the fungus because that's what the creatures were eating. Mm-hmm. And no, that's not what it's for. I trusted you. He basically feels betrayed at this point, Campion. And this is where he just starts wailing on him. He gives him a good punch to the face.
Knocks him down.
Knocks him back.
And he mounts on him and he's just going at him with punches.
Like another 2 more punches. And Paul is not even fighting back. And they take Father gets Campion off of Paul, and Paul gets up and he's crying. He's really upset that his friend, his only friend, I may add, attacked him.
But I mean, honestly, can you blame him? The way that Campion set up his belief system, where he's showing these people, hey, I believe these creatures have life, that
they have a soul.
They have a soul, right? And it's wrong to take that away from them, right?
Yeah.
But then your friend is using something you discovered with him to trick these creatures into death. That's pretty messed up.
Yeah, it's kind of
I know, but I'm not a big fan of Campion, so I'm pretty upset.
It's fine.
I'm pretty upset that he hit Paul. I really like Paul, and then Campion just
Especially
don't
since
know, like,
we already know that Campion may be upset at Paul just for being smarter than him.
yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
So this may be an extension of that.
yeah. It just added another thing for Campion to be upset at Paul.
And I'm not justifying him hitting him. I'm just
Right.
justifying the feelings that
Yeah.
he's experiencing because
This
I would
is-
be so upset too.
Yeah.
The
And
thing is that there's new feelings to him because I mean he's never really had anyone to
He's
compare
never-
his shit against.
He's never had to hold
Yeah.
back this sort of anger.
Yeah.
And it was also just like another addition to how smart he is. Like Paul created this when Campion's never created something like that. So it was just an addition.
But yeah, just going back to the first feeling Campion feels of this sort of betrayal, right?
So it was Battle of the Prophets when the scene kind of jumps over because at that moment where Campion was
I just want to point out how Hunter was laughing in the background.
oh little asshole, dude. So, and while Hunter's having a blast and laughing at this Battle of the Prophets here, Father actually comes in and he carries Campion away from Paul. And he starts taking him to the incubation chamber where Mother is at looking at the drawings, trying to erase them. And she's surprised, like, oh, like, what happened? Turns around and is like, tell your mother what you did. And this is the first time that you see it backwards because this is supposed to be your typical mother and father, and it's usually backwards. The mom kind of brings in the kid. Oh, your son did this. And then the dad's
the
supposed
father
to be,
is supposed to be the one to administer the punishment.
exactly, but now it's kind of backwards on this.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Believe me, I've been on that end. Now, Campion, explain to her what you did. It's like, all right, I hit him once. It's like, no. It's like, okay, fine. I hit him 4 or 5 times, but that was it. Mother, did you hear what your kid is saying? He's like, what makes you think that violence is an acceptable way of expressing your feelings? This is what Mother says to Campion. What about what you're doing to the creatures? Isn't that violence? It's like, they're animals. Humans have always eaten animals. Violence against your fellow human is completely different. How many people did you kill on Earth, Mother? Campion, attacking her, letting her know, it's like, you killed all these people in the Ark, and now you're arguing about me punching someone. That's basically obvious. It's a big comparison to what's actually happening. Mother lets him know, like, yo, you need to calm down. Like, you're special. And then he's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, and I'll do violence again if I need to. And he's like, no, you're a pacifist. He's like, no, yeah, I'm a pushover. Like, I'm not a pushover, Mother. Like, I don't want this. They start going back and forth. Mother tells him to apologize to poor Paul because he did get punched in the face out of nowhere. This guy thinks he made something for everyone.
Yeah.
Then he gets punched in the face. He's like, really? This is for you. Like,
so we can eat.
Exactly.
Well, it's not for Campion, but it is for the community that they're building, right?
Campion can eat carbos, fungus. He can eat anything, and I'm just annoyed.
Well, I want to go back on the scene a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Campion is saying that, like, oh no, like, what you want me to be is a pushover. But look at you, Mother. You enact violence, and nobody goes against what you say because they know what will happen if they do, right? So he's putting off a really good example that, like, no one would go against what I say if I do violence, basically, right? Because that's might makes right.
And
basically.
this is when Mother comes in and it's like, do as I say, not as I do.
But that's hypocritical. Just in the essence of the
it's
statement.
always been like that was such a common
Mom
saying.
thing to say.
Dude, all the moms say them.
Well, all the parents, right? Because it's always supposed to be, oh, no, you do as I say, not as I do. So you don't shout at kids, but I'm going to shout at you.
Yeah.
Basically,
That's
right?
Dude, that's right.
So, go ahead.
Okay, now, same scene. Campion storms off. Father just kind of stays, looks at Mother, and he's like, wait, no, like, I'm going to go after Campion. He's about to head out when Mother's like, wait, hold on. Close the door and, like, come in here. Father's a little taken back. He's like, okay, cool. Closes it. Mother looks at the very intimate drawing of her and her memory, and then she asks Father, have you been following me? Following you? There's a little pause between them. It's like, following you where, Mother? It's like, you made this, didn't you? Fascinating, Father. Kind of noticing that the art style that has been drawn on is Tally style. Now, this goes back to that little Tally ghost or the ghost child that's happening. If this, whatever it is, has the ability to mimic this, it could do a lot of other things, maybe mimic the other children themselves. Now, they're going back about the drawing, and Mother's asking father again, like, you're following me. Like, mother, I'm afraid I don't have the slightest idea of what you're talking about. Completely unaware that she's been going to the pods and all this stuff. Now, mother tells him, you direct interface with the pod, didn't you? Wait, so you replayed this memory? Father says, what pod? Because now I'm extremely curious to what you're talking about. Does this somehow relate to your extended absences? Father, will you stop lying? Stop lying to me. So she's yelling at him, and they're going back and forth, arguing. Like, what are you going to do? Kill me again? Shouldn't we wait till the kids are asleep? And it's like, that would be contradicting to what you're saying. Because mother asks him, like, stop lying to me now, tell me. He's like, that is contradicting to what you're telling me to do. I am not lying to you. I am telling you the truth.
Yeah, he where she's telling him, tell me you drew this. And he's saying, no, I can't because you're telling me not to lie to you.
Yeah, this is a big scene. Like, we've never seen mother and father argue like this.
Well, I mean, they have argued, but the premise was always that they knew exactly what was going on with the two of them. Where in this situation, they really have no idea what's going on. But
like,
they have
either of them know what's going on. Well, she knows that there's a drawing, but he doesn't know. Like, none of them, both of them don't know who drew it, and father doesn't even know that she's going into the pods.
Yeah,
so
he doesn't even know what the drawing means.
Yeah.
But she's adamant that, like, no, you know exactly what's going on, so you gotta tell me, because she's not willing to entertain the idea that it may be some sort of ghost tally.
Yeah, and this is when she starts to realize, like, oh my god, like, what is that? Because she did see it on the way to the pod where she was guided to it.
Yeah, she saw Tally.
Yeah, exactly. She saw Tally, and she's actually fighting with her emotions. As you could see it there, she has, like, confusion in her eyes, fear. Like, what is that? Tally? Is Tally
I want to talk about that for a second. Yeah, when she's actually in necromancer form, where she actually has a completely different expression.
Yeah.
I think that may be the first time where she sees Tally, she shows emotion in the form of the necromancer.
Mm-hmm.
Tally? Gasp.
Yeah. And you see emotion right now in the sense that
it's fear.
Yeah.
We see fear in her because she has no idea what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
The fear in the unknown.
Now at that point, like, that's the end of the little argument that they had, and mother's like, oh my god, then that just means, and she kind of just runs out of, well, doesn't run out, but she storms out of the room. Father's like, where are you going? Where are you going? Obviously, she's not stopping, and she just flies out, and it looks pretty funny. Like, the layout, the way it is, a little shadow on the cube on the outside, it looks hilarious, actually.
Yeah, it's the way that as soon as she steps out, you see a cutout of the necromancer T-pose just flying through the shadow of the incubation room or whatever.
Yeah, at that point she goes and flies off. You actually see a little clip of Paul setting up his quote-unquote bear trap for the creatures to go ahead and obviously eat later on. He sets it up, and mother's actually, obviously she was flying back to the pod, and she makes it to the pod, and she looks like she's in a rush, like she's trying to go ahead and plug in fast, lays down, connects, and you see some of the meteoric soldiers actually keeping an eye out because they were waiting for her to come in. It's basically a trap. Yeah, they're waiting for her.
She's in such a hurry that she doesn't even sense anyone's there. She's not in the pods. She should have sensed something, but she's such in a hurry to
tunnel
go
vision.
in. Yeah, tunnel vision. She just wants to, I guess, see Campion again, so that she just goes straight in.
Now, as she's plugging in, the meteoric soldiers are like, oh, like, she's here, Marcus. She's already here. And while that's happening, mother's walking around the sim. She's already inside.
Looking for something.
She's looking for something, right? And we have the meteoric soldiers. They're doing some sort of prayer. I'm assuming this is a prayer that they do before battle, because this is actually what they're going to go do. They're going to go and fight the necromancer, the strongest weapon on this planet, Kepler 22b. Now, they walk by Otho, and Marcus actually he's getting the robot aside and pulling him to the side and letting him know, and he's like, hey, like, this guy's gonna lay down. And then before he actually talks to Leash, which is basically what the android is programmed to do, Otho tells him, like, hey, like, if I survive, like, I'm gonna be pardoned, right? And he's like, yep, you betcha. Like, yeah, whatever, you know?
Yeah, it seems like sort of like
survive.
It seems like an empty promise.
Yeah, and it's like,
but
yeah,
it's
sure.
a promise nonetheless, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, he pulls Leash aside and lets him know, it's like, yo, he's going to have a strong desire to lay down. It's like, yes, your eminence. Like, yes, so what you're going to do is basically stand behind him and hold him. Make sure that he's standing up throughout that whole time, because the The shield can't move, I'm assuming. I don't know how the shield works.
Well, I'm
But he
assuming
needs to be standing
the
there.
the shield's got to be in the creature's face, right? In Mother's face for it to work.
Exactly. Now, the plan here is use the shield while Mother is in the sim, and he's letting his girl know, which is Mary and Sue, like you do not attack, you do not rescue your kids, you do not rescue Paul until I let you know via comm, like hey, we're good to go. Made it very clear, and he said it in front of all the other soldiers. All right, cool. Go ahead and let's go ahead and basically start the mission. The soldiers take off.
Yeah.
Marcus goes back and he sets up the other clerics around the. He sets up the other clerics around the pod.
So at this point, the Mithraic people are dividing into two separate teams, where there's a group of them that is gonna deal with the necromancer. And they're gonna try to destroy it, and then there's a group that is sent to the camp of the atheists to capture the kids as soon as they do attack
or kill
the
Mother.
necromancer. Yeah.
Okay, now it jumps back. During that same scene, they split off the Mithraic groups, and it jumps back to Mother on the actual sim itself, and she's talking to the computer. The computer, has anyone else entered this sim, or the simulation, whatever you want to call it? Since the Ark was destroyed, has anyone else entered? Computer replies, affirmative. One other user has access to simulation. Like, okay, who? Unknown, computer responds. Mother gets a little bit confused by that. It's like, okay, was the user an android or was it a human? Computer replies, I don't know. No, it replies unknown, sorry. Now, Mother talks to the computer again. It's like, is the user inside the simulation now? No response. She's walking around the sim. She actually hears whistling. Familiar to her, by the way. Because this is
or familiar to us because it's the same tune that she's been whistling since she saw the memories. You know when
that's the same one that she was like, oh, I don't remember this, and it was the same one that Campion was doing as he was working on.
Yeah, but
old Campion.
Old Campion, my bad.
Old Campion. She did the whistle when the Tempest was saved. When she like threw up all that medicine, and then she's whistling, and Dad's like,
"You're in a happy mood."
Yeah, you're in a happy mood. It's that whistle, so it's familiar to us and obviously to her.
I want to take some time right here just to open up discussion a little bit
Mm-hmm.
about the computer says that there was another user that entered it,
Yes.
and it was not able to determine if it was human or not. Right?
Right.
Well, no, not that it was human or not. Whether it was human or android.
android.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that in mind, do you guys want to speculate about who this might be that may have been entering the simulation?
The first time I thought it was Marcus since he checked the logs, but then I'm kind of thinking like, what if it's that creature? Ghost child, maybe the creature that they stole the map from. You know that the one that had the tracking.
Yeah, the little tracking devices that he found in the or she found.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good guess. I think that'd probably be the most likely thing, right?
Yeah, because at that point, obviously that thing is not a human, and it's more than likely not an android either.
So I was gonna push back if you said Marcus because the computer would have known if it was human.
Yeah, that's why I at first I thought it was Marcus because he looked at the logs, but I'm like, okay.
He didn't access it.
Yeah, he didn't really lay down or.
Well, he did lay down, but
he didn't connect himself to the.
Yeah, he didn't connect to the simulation that time. So at this point, we don't know who it might be. We're guessing it may be Ghost Tally. I'm willing to go as far as to say that maybe that.
It could possibly, more likely, it could be Ghost Tally since the drawing was done in Tally's style. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, then that's the only way she would have been able. Anyone would have been able to see it. Would have been to access the memories. I'm willing to go on a limb and say, yeah, I'd put my money on it being Ghost Tally. So that implies that she is no longer human.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so whatever she is now, not human, definitely not android.
It's definitely unknown to the computer, which
Definitely
makes sense if it's something from that planet.
Yeah. So I'm willing to say that maybe what happened to Tally, and I think this may be
a stretch.
I think this might actually be what's going on here.
Oh, here.
Where she fell down the hole, young as a child, survives somehow, maybe gets found by these creatures, right? And unlike the humans, right? They actually take care of her and do their best to heal her. That may involve them using their own bodies, right?
I'll give you pointers on that because when they were trying to hunt that creature that was in the hole, remember they were throwing rocks at it?
Mm-hmm.
They missed twice, and the creature completely saw them and ignored them and
Yeah.
still tried to reach for the fungus. It kind of gave some sort of innocence to it. It's like, oh, like, what are you guys doing?
Mm-hmm.
And grabbed the fungus and ate. Doesn't need humans to eat it. Didn't have humans before.
Mhm.
So why would it attack them? Why would it attack
We don't
Tally?
know what's going on with that,
Exactly.
right?
Why would it attack Tally?
Why would it attack them in the beginning of this series, right? So I'm willing to say maybe they
But
found
also,
Tally, maybe they've been protecting her, and now that the cracks opened up, then they maybe went to the surface. Like, okay, well, we know Tally's family's up here, maybe we can get them in touch, and they just look really scary, and maybe they would hurt them with an interaction, but maybe that sort of injury is what leads them to become other than human, sort of what might have happened to Tally. You get me?
Okay. But I'm gonna go back to the creatures. You know how you maybe they're small, they're innocent, maybe that's why they didn't attack because the creature has attacked Tempest before and Campion.
Okay, well, but what was the attack
It
that
was
she had?
it wasn't like attack.
She got chased.
It got jumped on.
Yeah, the creature jumped onto Tempest, and we don't know what it would have done. Of course, Mother wasn't gonna find out.
Yeah,
because
no.
Mother completely evaporated that motherfucker.
That's right. That's right. Now, but to us, a creature like that would freak us out,
Oh no, yeah,
Obviously-
especially with the sharp claws, sharp teeth.
and vice versa. Why wouldn't something that looks like us freak that creature out? You know?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that was a reaction that they had, just the same as the humans. They started to freak out.
Yeah, but okay, that makes sense why it would jump on them. But if it I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know
we
yet.
really don't know.
We don't know yet.
Love to find out.
Yeah. No.
Let us know your own theories in the comments down below.
That's right. Yeah. Let us know if we sound like we're full of crap, or maybe later on we're completely right. Who knows? I guess we'll find out.
We'll
we
come
haven't
back
seen
to-
the future episodes.
Hopefully we get some answers because
We know that there's
This season,
there's
but-
probably gonna be a cliffhanger at the end of the
yeah,
season.
but I want at least some answers, not a whole answer
Yeah.
because obviously it's gonna ruin season 2.
I'll go as
But-
far to say as if they don't give us any answers, I'm not gonna be happy.
Me either. I want at least one answer. Just one answer. That's
Yeah,
all I
yeah.
ask.
I'd be happy with 2 answers and 1 more question, but I feel like what they're probably gonna end up doing is just leave us with more questions.
I just want to know if there are giant worms inside the Kepler 22b, man. I just want to know what's at the bottom of those holes. That's it.
Yeah, I would like to know what's in the wormhole as well.
Okay, so don't we all, Carlos? Now we go back to the scene, and she hears whistling, familiar to us, familiar to Mother. It's actually old Campion, the creator Campion. He's there. He looks kind of like he's being shown out, like he's being displayed, sort of, kind of from
yeah,
a
it's some
projector.
sort of hologram projector.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I want to say it's a hologram. Yeah, you're right.
but
And-
they're already in
oh,
a simulation, so
Yeah, right.
But also keep in mind, it's right then and there, that room where the monk used to be and where she first saw Tally the second time she entered. It's
Yeah.
not a memory anymore.
Yeah.
It's not like it's just not a memory. It's
I
not
guess
a
live sim.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, Mother approaches him kind of glad. It's like, you did this, didn't you? Just staring at him. It's like, you made that drawing. And when I saw Tally, that was actually you, wasn't it?
this simulation agrees. It's like, yeah, it was me.
You lured me in here. And I mean, old Campion is like, yes, I missed you. Now, I don't know if this is real or this is something playing on her feelings alone, because the way she's reacting, she looks really happy about this. Now, I had almost given up hope, Mother. This is what Campion is telling Mother. It's like, oh, when she comes maybe sort of to some type of realization, it's like, oh my God, you're a virus. You infected the sim and you infected my system. I'm malfunctioning. And Campion reassures her, no, you're not malfunctioning. You will never malfunction unless that's what you actually want. Mother gets thrown by like that, and they're just looking at each other. And it's like, would death make you happy, Mother? It's like, no. It's like, what would then? Desire, happiness, these things are what humans want, Mother tells Campion. And then Campion starts actually talking to her and letting her know, it's like, you are light. There are only shadows. But you are human, yes, but I see many things. That's what Campion tells Mother. Mother's already tearing up. And at this point, he actually reaches up to her and caresses her. And he's like, you can do whatever you want. He lets him know, he's like, I'm your creator. I could give you anything. First, you need to tell me what you actually want. Mother starts talking about, I want the mission to be successful. I want to have the children to be safe. Basically, all the stuff that she was programmed to say. Or programmed to believe what the mission was.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, Father starts telling her, he's like, but you're eternal. Campion starts telling her, he's like, but you're eternal. You can have whatever you want. Anything that you want, basically.
He says, I gave you that mission. I can give you anything.
Yeah.
Now, please tell me what you want. Now he's all close to her. It's kind of getting kind of sexual. It's like a sexual embrace.
Kind of sexual.
Sexual embrace. And then, boom, they start making out. And I'm like, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Get the...
So I want to point out that while this is an HBO show, the show hasn't shown any sort of sex up until this point. Right
well,
here.
no, Marcus and Mary had sex.
Oh, you're right. You know what?
Yeah, that's right. Mary was mounting the shit out of Marcus.
I guess I forgot about that because that whole scene was about the hallucination. For me.
That's about being super trippy.
Can we cut that? Okay.
I'd love to keep it, dude.
I'd love to. Whatever.
No, in the scene they start making out. Boom, jumps back to out of the sim. Mother's still laying down there. She has no ability to hear, sense anything that's going on around her, and we see Marcus creeping up on her, slowly walking in the distance. Starts getting close to her, starts looking at her real close, puts his hand over her. Doesn't touch her. He doesn't touch her at all, but she is going over her body with his hand. And she actually tells Otho to come back here. Tells him to get close, sets him up, puts the mirror right on top of her face. The camera actually lets us show how close it is. It gives us like a reflection of what it looks like if we were laying down in Mother's position. And we see everything now. Everyone takes a step back, obviously leaving Otho there because he's supposed to be dead. So this is him using his ammo that he had talked about in the previous episode. This is why Otho was saved. This is making it very clear. Him backing up his word to his people, showing what kind of leader he is, backing up his word. That's just me.
Yeah, no, he definitely put him in the front lines, just like he said.
Just exactly like he said.
He's there to do or die.
That's right.
Do and die, hopefully.
He's putting him there in the line of fire. Now, at this point where it looks like we're about to see some actually Mother get attacked by this mirror, but no, it actually goes into the sim. And it shows old Campion and Mother having sex. That's basically what the next scene is them having sex.
It's a step down from hardcore.
Yeah, it's softcore porn, basically, is what we're looking at right now.
No tits.
Right, no tits, no nothing. They're just...
But they are butt nude.
Yeah, they're making love. They're floating. Obviously, this is a simulation. They're just floating around. Once they're actually in midair... Campion takes a bite, which I feel like it's significant in a way, because he does bite her, and she reacts by looking up on the top, and there's actually crosses in her eyes. I don't know if that, because I don't think that's what soul is. I don't think soul has anything to do with crosses. But...
Well, I want to point out the bite. That may have something to do with the whole wolves, right? Because that's pretty animalistic, right? But stepping it back even further, or I guess just this whole situation right here. I want to open up the discussion. What do you guys think is actually going on here? Is this what Marcus set the simulation up to distract her with? Or is this something else?
I'll say mine really fast because I don't think it's that out there. But I think she kind of combined the sim with a possible memory of that, like maybe this actually happened. And she's not replaying it
but how it actually happened?
How it actually happened, she's replaying it here. I think that's possible. But even then, like, when she was with Campion, like in past, she never had her eyes.
This is something that was archived. And maybe she's just... This is what she's imagining it would have been like?
Yeah, I don't know. It's...
Okay, well, I mean, I guess I'll speak to that the way I see that and what you're saying. It kind of makes sense because she did talk to. There was a little bit of argument between, not argument, but they were back and forth between Mother and Tempest. Like, oh, I always wanted this. I always wanted to bear a child. I always wanted to do this, and you're doing it. Like, oh, I switched places with you, and back and forth. Now, what I think, and this is just a theory. I don't know. Obviously, we don't know yet. I personally think that Campion, in order to preserve himself or self-survival, I guess, this guy's a hacker. This guy's an intense hacker. No one has done what he's done before, which is hack Necromancer. I personally think he got DNA from himself and he put it inside Mother. I think what we're looking at, this scene that we're looking at now, is a way of activating that embryo and actually start do the whole 9-month process, whatever, or whatever, how long it takes for him to grow.
So you think he impregnated her?
I think he put DNA of himself inside of her when they were back on Earth.
That's interesting.
That was my theory that I believe we had talked about earlier.
No, we're talking about right now. Okay. No, that's really interesting.
Okay. Because obviously the scene climaxes and there's some white liquid, ladies and gentlemen, some white liquid all over the walls, the floor. They're all surrounded by it. I don't know if this is how robots orgasm. If they do, holy shit.
You're right. And if she is not impregnated by that, I would be surprised with the amount of cream that was out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my theory is, I don't think that this is exactly what Marcus intended when he said, like, oh, we're setting it up so that she's gonna be vulnerable and we'll get her.
No. It worked out perfectly though, because she's in a
it worked out. Yeah, she's super vulnerable. She's butt naked.
Yeah,
that's right.
But to me, it feels more, I would say, some sort of spiritual thing right here, right? Because, like you said, you see crosses in her eyes. It's actually because she's looking up at the sky and it opens up and it's the
ray of light.
The ray of light that's shining on her and it's crosses in her eyes to reflect that. So it is definitely some sort of religious experience. I think that she's experiencing.
You could see it that way.
Some sort of.
Also, it's kind of something that she's not supposed to experience. She's
not supposed to be spiritual.
No. She's not even supposed to experience sex because it's a necromancer that was created to kill people. That's her job. It's
even created as Mother, she was not made for sex. She was made to raise kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, this is something new, so maybe opening the gates, it's her opening a whole different experience.
Yeah. I'm willing. I would say personally, it's something spiritual that's happening here. I don't know if it's gonna end up having to be soul or whatever. I don't know if it has to be soul. It could be something else. But it's definitely something taking the form of Campion.
Yeah.
Not to take advantage of her, but more so to just like for her to experience this for herself. Where she is completely independent. She's not thinking about her mission. She's not thinking about the kids or her father or even the Mithraic that she's supposed to be wanting to kill. She's in the moment just
experiencing life, man.
Experiencing pleasure.
Yeah.
So it's completely new to her. Like, it's this sort of experience, and maybe that's what God intended for her, right?
God or soul.
Maybe that's what soul intended for her, right?
Thank you. Now, giant orgasm, that's basically how this scene ends, right? And that's assuming that that's what she's experiencing, just pure pleasure.
She's still in the sim, and I don't know if she like wakes up or does something, but she's in the sim, and she turns around, Campion is in there, and she's back in the spandex. She's not nude anymore.
Right.
Like,
and you can see that there's a sort of electricity or waves of electricity that are coming towards her, and she looks over to them they were behind her, and now she looks over to them, and that's when she wakes up. And now she sees what's going on here in real life, where they have set up this shield or this mirror or whatever. I forget what it's actually called, but it's attacking her. Yeah. Where I'm not sure exactly. I think what they described it as is supposed to create a feedback loop. Right. So I think what it's going on, it's using her own energy against her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. And while all that is going on, that shield is looking at her, it's going back and forth. She's going in and out of Necromancer face, like a couple parts, not of her completely, but arms going in and out, legs, torso, everything's going in and out, including her face.
She tries to scream.
She tries to scream at it and nothing happens. She actually passes out from that. Now, this whole time, it kind of stopped. She stopped moving completely. Everything around them, everything around all the Mithriatic soldiers, everything around them, mother and the pod, rocks, dirt, everything starts kind of floating slowly. It starts going in and out, starts going up and down. I'm sorry. Starts going up and down. Kind of like all this energy is powering up. Basically, she's powering up the way I see it.
Yeah, and
Well,
at this
also-
at this point, Marcus is telling his boy to set off the charges that they had put in her bed. It's like set it off, and they're trying to do it, but you can see that the charges are going haywire.
They're kind
It
of like
looks like
sparking.
they're sort
Yeah.
of sparking, like they're trying to go off, but maybe something's impacting them. I want to point this out here that this is a new power that we're seeing from Mother,
Yeah.
and she's completely asleep.
Yeah.
So she's passed out right here. So it's some sort of self-defense mechanism, or maybe it's something other that's part of her. So I'm going back to religion here. That maybe this is the will of soul, right? That's protecting the necromancer.
Okay. Now, at this point, everything kind of stops for a second, and Marcus runs to his soldier that's there and tells him, "I told you to," and then boom, charge blows up in that Mithriatic soldier's hands, and everything around Mother actually starts going up. And I'm talking about rocks the size, big enough to actually hide the Mithriatic soldiers behind them. These are giant boulders. Now, Mother starts to levitate, eyes closed. She starts slowly getting into her necromancer form, which I think this is the coolest transformation because it's kind of slow and they zoom in on it really close.
And the way that her eyes turn.
Yeah, her eyes slowly open and they're already like blue necromancer form, fully powered.
Surrounded by these giant boulders.
Surrounded.
I'd say the best way to describe them, it's probably 7 feet by 7 feet. These boulders,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
huge.
Now, all the soldiers kind of start realizing is like, oh, we're kind of done here. She starts yelling she starts screaming at the actual boulders, and they start blowing up because of her shrieking, and it actually goes towards the soldiers. And she does that a couple times, and everyone starts running away. And this is where Marcus realizes, is like, oh my god, like Mary. He turns back around and he actually runs to the area of the camp. And at this point, the camera switches over to Mary and what's happening. Now Mary's over there thinking, it's like, okay, like I need to go. And she starts looking at the camp. She sees the kids. She sees them kind of running up and down. And it's like, okay, guys.
So she sees that Paul is on his own.
Oh, right. She sees that Paul's on his own and he's going to one of the silos. And she actually tries to calm Marcus, but it's not going through. It's not going through at all. And it's like, she's there thinking, what do I do? What do I do? He's like, you know what? Let's go. And Lucius actually tells us, like, no. Marcus, your eminence was very specific. We're not going to go until he sees the green light. And he's like, he's not talking to us. And he's like, well, we're not going to go. And she's like, okay, cool. Well, I don't need you to follow me. She leaves. She actually goes to get Paul here. At this point, Lucius is like, okay, let's go. And nothing happens to her. Obviously, because he's loyal to Marcus as the leader, and he's a great leader. He's not going to let his wife, he's not going to let anything happen to his wife at this point.
Yeah.
So
he
this
makes
is
a personal call to go in with her.
That's right.
Yeah.
And those are kind of calls that you're only going to see out in the battlefield, out in war somewhere. Those are decisions that you have to sometimes disobey to make what you believe is the right call. And I believe this was actually influenced by Marcus saying, is like, you know what, your father was not weak. Even though he made a decision he wasn't supposed to make, I feel like this was influenced by that.
Yeah.
You're right, definitely, because he makes the point, like, you know what, like, this is not what Marcus wanted, this is not what our leader wanted. We know we're going against the plan, but I don't want anything to happen to this fellow soldier.
That's right.
No, he says specifically, we're going in, nothing happens to her.
Yeah.
Now, soldiers charge in. It jumps back to the actual what's happening inside of the little
Hut.
of the little huts where all the kids are at, and father's actually cooking up some fajita there, no problem, some delicious meat. And we see Tempest playing with the guitar. We see Holly kind of doing some type of drawing, some type of knitting from what it looks like. And honestly, they just look like some regular family. You know, all the father's cooking,
Yeah,
the
they're
kids
all-
playing with the guitar.
They're all doing their own activities.
Yeah, they're all doing their own. They're all finding a way to keep distracted. Because I mean,
Yeah,
what else are you gonna do
relaxing.
there? Now, it jumps back to a scene outside, and it says Vita and Campion. They're actually running around, and Vita says they're hiding behind the rocks, and it looks like they're playing hide and seek. And she's like, "Where are you?" And she's talking about Tally. Campion's like, "Oh, like don't play around like that. Like don't say stuff like that." And behind him, You see a ghost child.
You see a shadowy figure run past the background.
That's right. So you see this figure, and now Campion is chasing it because he obviously saw something. He doesn't really see it again, but he does chase. He did see it once.
And he says, Tally?
Yeah.
Yeah, he says he recognized the voice, like you had mentioned earlier, that it's the same voice, obviously.
By the way, I've been waiting for that to happen. I've been waiting for
Campion to
to experience something. Because it doesn't seem like he believes Vita when Vita's like, oh, where are you? And he's kind of like hurt. Like, don't even talk about her.
Yeah,
but,
don't lie about that.
Yeah. So when
I mean, can you blame him though?
No. Like, I completely understand.
Yeah.
So when he finally like experiences something, I was like, yes, like he's finally gonna see his sister again. Or I mean, you don't even know if it's his sister.
It's his sister or not. All right, now what ends up happening next is obviously Campion is running around looking for Tally, doesn't see her. It jumps back to Vita, and she actually goes into the hibernation pod. Incubation
That's
chamber.
what we've been calling it.
Yeah, so she goes to the incubation chamber. And she sees the drawing that was supposed to be made by Tali, and she sees like an aura around this. She sees some sort of smoke, maybe it's very little light.
I want to point out that it's the same sort of filter that was surrounding Campion, the old Campion in the simulation.
Yeah.
So it's some sort of, I'm going back to religion here,
right?
Some sort of religious glow surrounding this little frame, and then it shows that the frame that she's looking at is the one that Mother was so distraught about. Is the one of her and the pod that she was sent in and kissing Campion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. It does have the same aura, the same glow to it, I guess. Now, after that, it goes to.
Well, I just want to also point out that as she stares at the painting, it bleeds ink.
Yeah.
So it's like, because it looks like a scratch sort of drawing. It looks like, and that's why Mother wasn't able to get rid of it, because it's etched into the side of this building, right?
Yeah.
But it looked like to Vita, or whatever, it looked to Vita that the drawing started oozing this black ink, right? And it distorts what the image would be. Really, it just doesn't look like anything at that point.
Yeah.
It's really creepy.
Scene jumps to Paul actually looking at himself in the little mirror. Well, it's not a mirror. It's more like a little.
It's like a part of a ship or
It's
something?
like part of a ship, yeah.
Something metal, but it gives off a reflection.
Yeah, something silver that he has in his hand. He's looking at it. He's looking at his face. He's looking at his eye, purple nose, because obviously Campion wailed on him because, he was trying to be the only prophet, of course. And at this point, right then and there, Mary Sue runs into the silo and picks him up and says, "Come on, it's me, Mother." And Paul, excited, he just hugs her and they run out. Father gets, this is what I think is interesting, because he gets a feeling, I want to say it's a feeling. Something's not right. He kind of looks around, he tells everyone to be quiet, hold on, goes outside.
And
nothing. There's nothing there. Yeah, there's nothing there, nothing. But Paul and Paul's mother.
This next scene, it's Paul and Mary Sue running away, cutting back to Father, going back into the building, saying, "Everyone quiet down." And I want to point out this scene right here where their father asked Holly and Tempest to stop playing the music that they were playing, and Hunter is like, "See, no one can stand your music."
Yeah, even Father's sick of it.
Even Father's sick of your music, and then Father shuts him down. It's like, "You be quiet too."
Yeah.
He walks outside and he looks at the
ship, the
lander.
Yeah, lander.
Lander. He looks at the lander that's sitting out there, and I guess this is a moment where he's like, you know what? Decision making kicked in. Finally, he's like, you know what? Everyone go to the lander now. Hurry up. He's like, what? And all the kids just start running out there. We have Tempest, we have Holly, and we have Hunter. They haul ass over there to the lander. Father walks into the house and then he goes out the front. He's looking for Campion. He's looking for Paul. He's looking for Vita. He's walking around the field. He's standing in the middle of it. And then out of nowhere, 2 shots hit him in the chest, and I believe it was the stomach. He actually starts running away from that. Obviously, he doesn't really feel pain, but
damage is done.
But damage is done. He starts running away, and Vita actually steps out of the incubation chamber. This is where we have one of the battle scenes that This is where we actually have a little gunfight, but it's just everyone shooting at Father. Father has no guns. He has nothing real to defend himself. So he's running around the camp, obviously trying to find the children and trying to find cover at the same time. Vita peeks out. She goes back into the incubation chamber. And they show a wide camera angle, and they showed Father running around the back of the house. They show Campion. He bumps into Hunter and all of the ones that were running into the lander. He follows them in. He's like, go on, get in. What's happening? Basically, they start looking through the lander, through the actual, I guess, what would you call it? Not a camera,
Like
but
a
like
screen.
It's a windshield.
the windshield of the lantern. They start looking at of what's happening through there. Father's still running around, not being tired. Again, remember, letting us know. This is what I like about this show. They keep letting us know, like, don't forget these things are androids.
Yeah.
He's running full speed, zero showing of tiredness, and then he gets Paul's trap, the bear trap, and he actually throws it on one of the soldiers, and he clamps her neck.
So at that point, 5 soldiers left.
Yeah, 5 soldiers left. He runs around. He's still getting shot. He gets 3 or 4 shots in the chest. He runs around, gets another soldier, and he actually stops a couple bullets with that soldier and throws him to the side.
4 soldiers left.
4 soldiers left. There's one on top of the house. There's 2 running around, and there's one that's actually going towards Vita at the moment.
Where
soldier,
she's in the incubation room.
Yeah, in the incubation room. Soldier peeks in, opens it. Vita looks at him. Father throws a rock from the distance with the slings that they made, and he actually wells him in the head, and there's blood everywhere.
It's a little blood cloud that he left off. It's like a mist of blood. What I want to point out, Vita saw. We didn't even get to see the moment of impact, but Vita's traumatized by it now, I'm assuming.
No,
3 soldiers left.
3 soldiers left. At this point, Father's running around. He gets the gun from the soldier that was outside, and he takes Vita to the lander. He runs all the way to the lander, drops off Vita. Campion lets him know. He's like, "Hey, Paul's missing." Like, okay, if I don't, I'm gonna go get him. If I don't return in time, just leave without me. Okay, cool.
Go find mother.
Go find mother. Sorry. He runs back to the silos, trying to hide. Hunter sits down in the driver's seat of the lander, and they start looking at through the windshield that we talked about. Father is currently trying to hide in the silos. He checks who's there. He doesn't see anybody. He's obviously, this is in the middle of a battlefield now, because this is no longer their home. It's currently a battlefield.
I think he was looking for Paul in there. Like I feel like he knew Paul was there, right. And he just wanted to make sure that.
And you can see that there's what looks like evidence of a struggle.
Yeah, there was struggle.
Now Father leans back next to the silo. He looks at his hand. It starts shaking. All the bullets that he's taken obviously is showing some damage. It goes back to the lander. Hunter is actually turning on the lander, and Campion asks him, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Hold on, like I'm just warming it up." Father is climbing up the lander. The soldiers are trying to look next to the silos. There's 3 of them at this point. They're trying to look, see where Father's at. Everyone's trying to see what's happening. Father gets on top of the silo. Soldier jumps by the side. He shoots him. 1 shot. That's all it took. 2 soldiers left. Hunter's looking at the action along with everyone else. The soldiers kind of look to the side, and this is where this bag-stabbing little SOB yells into the lander itself. This is Hunter, by the way, the only SOB. He yells into the lander, and he tells soldiers, the android is on top of the silo. He's on top of the silo, and Campion's trying to stop it. He's trying to stop it, but obviously it was too late. One of the soldiers heard. He took him out from the side. He shot him like 3 or 4 times. He falls. At this point, you see Campion losing it because his father just got shot. He's on the ground. He's crawling towards the gun. He's still an android, people, so he's not feeling the pain of it, but the damage is done, like Carlos said. He's crawling towards the gun. Slow, every time is slower. They take a couple shots of him while he's there. They're on top of him, completely defenseless, and the soldiers know this. Father reaches for the gun. They shoot his hand. Now,
no movement.
Lucius is looking at the other soldier and tells him, "Go ahead, like take the shot." And he tells him that just by nodding his head. At this point, we hear Mother shrieking in the background. And this is one of the most intense shrieks that I've seen her do, because her face kind of shakes a little bit because she's aware of the situation. She does see Father's legs there on the ground. As she screams, and you just see like the soldier's spine just fly out and land next to him.
Yo, well, it's a cloud of blood.
Yeah.
Like if the last soldier was, I'm sorry. If the last soldier let off a mist of blood, this was a complete cloud of blood that she had made this soldier.
Whole body was destroyed.
Except
Only thing left was the spine.
Yeah.
At this point, mother gets down. She's carrying
Oh,
father. in his
one
arms.
soldier left.
One soldier left.
And
It's
Mary.
like, oh, I
and
was-
Mary.
Oh, that's right. Then she has father in her arms. It's like, oh, like I was worried about you, mother. Like your well-being is my priority. He's like, well, I'm here now. Mother has him in his arms. She's kind of crying. Father. No response. Father's going in and out now.
Yeah.
And it cuts back. It goes back to the forest where Marcus was actually running towards Mary to see what was happening, but Mary and Paul were already waiting for them there in the forest. Mary's pointing the gun at them, making sure everything's okay, watching, basically covering them as they have a little father-son reunion moment. It's like, you're alright, you're a good boy, like, everything's okay. And it's like, where's Lucius, where's the other? Marcus asks Mary. Then Mary lets him know, it's like, oh, either they're dead or they're run away. And it's like, I told you to wait for my call. He's like, I thought you were dead. And he's like, of course you did. Kind of a little bit of a sassy tone there. And he's like, okay, we run. Okay, let's run together. He's like, no, we can't escape her. At this point, he has I personally think he accepted his fate. It's like, you know what? Like, this is it. Like, we can't escape her, and we talked about this before. He looks at Paul, and I think he comes to the realization. He's like, you know what? This necromancer does nothing to the children, and I could use what is supposed to be my own son. I could use him the way maybe he was used. Don't know. But I could use him. You know what? Go back and you want to save the others, don't you? You don't want the necromancer to kill me and your mother. At this point, throwing ideas into Paul's head is like, we're dead.
Well, I mean,
we can't
honestly, telling him
It's
the truth.
yeah. At this point, Paul already explained to Marcus that mother doesn't do anything to them because she carries the eyes in a little pouch, like as a necklace. Yeah.
Now at this point, Marcus takes out a knife from his pocket, gives it to him, and is like, you need to get those eyes. You need to get those eyes. And at this point, him and Paul came to a little, I guess, unspoken agreement. It's like, yes, I could do it. I could do it, Mom. Like, you gotta believe. He's like, no, we can't throw him back in there.
I want to point out this scene where Mary Sue is telling them, like, no, we can run away, we can escape her, and Marcus just really flat to Paul, she's lying to you.
Yeah.
Because it's true. I mean.
Well, I would go as far to say it's not that she's trying to lie to him, she's just trying to be, I guess, hopeful of the situation.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's not realistic.
It's not a good hopeful. She's being unrealistic, and she just needs to accept the fact that
she was wrong. She should have waited for that signal.
Yeah, they lost all those people.
5 soldiers.
Yeah, because she didn't wait. Because she saw Paul and she wanted him now.
I want to point out the only characters that survived that attack on the building were the only characters with names.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Lucius, he ran away, and we saw Mary Sue get out with Paul. All the other soldiers with no names.
Extras.
Yeah, they're screwed.
Now at this point, scene changes. Mary's actually hugging him, giving him a kiss on the head, knowing very well that he needs to go back. Scene cuts to back at the atheist camp, and you see Mother actually taking out the bullets from Father because, like we discovered, well, not discovered, but I guess we were very made aware that even a gunshot to these androids is completely repairable. Like the old Eminence was trying to say that, oh, just one shot to the head, and oh, she's still repairable. Well, here we see that again. Mother's taking out all the bullets, which she puts them in a tray, and there's a lot of them. And I was like, okay. She goes to the stomach. She's kind of taking out the cord, kind of cleans it, takes the last bullet out. Here you go. Paul enters. And it's like, well, look who it is, Hunter, with a little asshole attitude. And it's like, I hid once I started hearing shots. That's his excuse. That's what he tells everyone in the room that he was doing while the gunshots were
And no question from anyone.
Of course, because, I mean...
Why would he lie?
Why would he lie? I mean, I'm pretty sure he has a higher IQ than Hunter, but whatever. He stands very, very close to Mother. Very aware.
Behind her, yeah.
Yeah, very aware what he needs to do. Knife in hand. Now, at this point, there's just silence throughout the whole room. Paul gets up and he causes a distraction. Very convenient for my boy Paul here. He
No,
causes a
Campion.
distraction and he
Campion gets up.
My bad. Campion gets up and he causes a very convenient distraction for Paul.
I want to point this out right now because we said that Paul is going to have to take the eyes. But I think the scene before didn't actually allude to that completely. I think they just like, no, you're going to have to go back in there. After just talking about that without her eyes, she's not going to hurt him. So with this scene right here, we see Paul take out the knife. To me, the first time watching it, I thought he might stab her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So him taking the eyes, that's what he ends up doing, right? That's I don't know if that's bait and switch exactly. Maybe people would already assume that,
Right.
but I didn't think of that going into it. Like, but yeah, he just takes the eyes.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying because I thought the same thing, but at the same time I was like, what is this guy doing? Like,
really gonna just
yeah, like
stab
if
her?
he stabs her, she's gonna.
What's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no,
So-
she takes the eyes, and
Very smart.
and also kind of a continuity goof, maybe just a personal peeve of
Mhm.
mine. But he's behind her, and he gets the cord of the necklace with one hand, and with the other hand cuts it with a knife, of course. And personally, I thought the pouch was tied a different way, that where
It would have just slipped out.
where most necklaces, right,
Yeah.
are made, where the pendant is actually separate to the
Yeah.
to the
necklace.
to the necklace. No, in this case, the pouch that's carrying the thing is actually connected to the cord completely. So he's able to just take it like that. Whereas I would have assumed he would have to grab the eyes and then cut the cord from there,
And
which
even
would have
then-
been a lot more intimidating to do.
Yeah. That would have taken a lot more guts to go all the way in there and grab the actual pouch itself.
Yeah, but even then he did it like really fast. It was like
As soon as the
Well, I mean,
distraction was available.
Well, I mean, at that point, Mother's guard was down because she's supposed to be surrounded by her kids.
No, yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Her guard was definitely down, and she was more focused on father's well-being.
Yeah. Now, at this point in this scene, the distraction that Campion causes is
him accusing
him
Hunter.
accusing Hunter, and he's not wrong. Hunter
Mhm.
did point out where father was, and he did let him know. It's like, oh, like, you did this, and no one, and you know what? Holly also knew. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, Campion. Boom. Paul comes in.
Also, keep in mind, Tempest also agreed. She was like, Hunter's like, oh, I didn't shoot father, and Tempest goes, you might as well have.
Yeah. So, Paul actually runs out of the incubation chamber, and Mother is chasing after Paul. Give them back to me, Paul. Give them back to me. Mother's still running after him. And all of a sudden, from behind a giant boulder that was hiding there, Marcus was hiding behind the boulder and throws an axe across her chest. I think this is a very emotional scene. Mother kind of still, with the momentum that she had, he actually circles Marcus with the axe still in her chest. And they're looking at each other while the axe is still in her chest. Gets close. He actually yanks it out of her. She falls, and we have all this white liquid that the androids have inside of them just gush out like if it was blood. All this scene is in slow motion, by the way, that we see it. She's on the ground. She's trying to get up. She can't. Marcus.
So she's already
Axe in hand.
incapacitated at this
She
point.
is incapacitated. Very well said. Marcus, standing over her, axes her in the back. Now, he sees her. He's looking at Mary. He's looking at Paul. He looks down on her. She's kind of having a small seizure, not really. She's kind of like just twitching.
The way that
the
the androids twitch when they're damaged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He walks over her again. He walks over her like she's prey. She is caught. She is vulnerable. Swings the axe. Axe is up in the air. Nah, no. A
You-
giant
Whisper.
whisper in his ear.
Yeah.
No. He starts hearing voices whispering all around him. There's some sort of music going on in the background. He's looking around. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't swing. He seems confused by this. What was that?
He
He looks
raises,
at her again.
He raises the axe.
Raises the axe.
Again. Let her live.
Stops. He blinks. Axe run top of Mother, ready to strike her down. He's still making up his mind. What was that? Neck starts popping. He goes around his face. I don't know how to mention that gesture. He brings down the axe.
Drops
He drops it. Again, a voice. No. Mother's there twitching on the ground. Mary's looking at him like, what are you doing? You could finish her. Doesn't say anything. No one saying anything. The scene is very clear, making it real clear to the audience. The necromancer has been defeated. Marcus is walking towards Mary, no axe in hand, nothing in hand. Marcus sees Paul and tells them, come to your dad. At this point, Mary's holding on to him by the hair, pushes him up. You did a good job.
And Paul gives
The
Marcus
eyes.
the eyeballs. Well, the necromancer eyes.
The necromancer eyes, that's right. At this point, Paul hands over the necromancer eyes to Marcus, and he gives him a hug, and he starts crying. I feel like this is him crying of regret, because I feel like he did take a liking to Mother.
Well, and it's definitely violence that he just saw. That like
Yeah.
At this point, Marcus is looking at Mary with a smile on his face and says, good boy. Used his own child for violence.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
his own child, but you know what I mean, guys. He used
It's his
him.
son. He sees him as his son.
He used him as a tool of war. That's what happened.
Can I go back?
Sure.
And I just want to talk about for a minute the scene where we hear Marcus
The
hearing
whispers.
this. Well, it's not whispers anymore. I
That's
want to
right.
point out this is the first time we as the audience get to clearly hear what the voices are telling him.
Mm-hmm.
It says, without a shadow of the doubt, no. And he stops, and he stops swinging the axe and let her live. And this is the first time we hear the influence this strong. So much so that we're actually able to hear it clearly, not the way that it's been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been whispers before, but now it's definitely a pivotal moment, I think, because there's no doubt
Yeah.
that there is something influencing him. I didn't have doubt before, especially once we saw the vision that he had of the knife that he's never seen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now it just solidifies the fact that there is something at play here. I don't know if it's spiritual, I don't know if it's soul, I don't know if it's a god, but it's definitely something supernatural.
Something that could affect the people around them.
Like nothing.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't know if this thing that's whispering to Marcus is taking. It's either taking a very good, I guess, force on Marcus, or the voice just feels really strong about Mother. Like it might be either or.
Right?
I mean, 'cause
right.
we've-
The voice definitely wants to make sure that Mother lives.
Yeah, like we've seen several situations that with Tali, the drawing, the simulation, like there's a connection there to Mother. So I don't know if it feels strong towards Mother or he's trying to take over Marcus.
Okay.
Ooh, I didn't think about that.
I
That's
have-
interesting.
I have I guess a small theory now. They were all connected to the sim, and Campion was a virus in the sim. Do you think maybe he kind of implanted his serum all inside all of the ones that are in the simulation?
You know what? I would love that.
Right?
Good idea.
I would
Yeah,
love that
because
idea.
maybe the voices that they're hearing is actually Campion
pretending to be
pretending
God.
to be Soul.
So
That's why he wants Mother alive, and
that
was
is
very clear.
really interesting. That's really interesting because that's the best explanation that we've thought of so far, I think. That it's Campion influencing them. Because we already knew that he had access to Mithraic tech. Who's to say that, before he died, he got to the ship and hacked it.
Because even then, Mother and Father were sent to Kepler
22b.
way before the Ark was sent to Kepler
Yeah.
22b.
Yeah.
So
the
he
influence.
sends them off and then focuses on the Ark.
Yeah, because we didn't see Campion die.
We
Yeah.
really didn't, yeah.
Maybe the influence that we're seeing is not Soul. Maybe it's potentially Campion as he hacked the Ark, and we're seeing the influence of a very well-known hacker on Earth.
All right. Does anyone else have something else to add? All right. Well, with that, I'm going to sign us off for this episode. Again, you're listening to The Far Side of the Moon, and I hope you enjoyed your stay. Please like, subscribe, comment, Follow us on social medias. I'm sure you'll be able to find them somehow.
In
And
the description. They'll be in the description.
catch you next time.
Catch you next time from the far side of the moon.